Welcome back to another creepy story. This one is called As Thousands Screamed by Gregory Nicole. We got the guy, the young security officer announced proudly. He's history now. Darren said nothing as he lowered his brown ovation acoustic guitar to the floor of the dressing room. A dull, hollow note sounded from the instrument as it touched the stained red carpet. He reached for a cigarette case, fumbling with its tiny brass latch. "You sure this is the guy who was sending all those notes?" The officer nodded. "Yes, we even found another one inside his backpack, along with some reinforced gloves and wire cutters. Dropped it as he was slipping out. We figured he was gonna sabotage your stage pyrotechnics, but got scared and bolted. Detective Ford's got the note now. I'm sure he'll show it to you if." Darren shook his head as he lit a tip of his solemn light. "No, not until after the concert." "I sure understand that," said the officer. He paced awkwardly for a moment and added, "Well, I better get back there." Darren waved him out. He took a deep drag of the warm, sweet smoke as the door swung closed with a metallic click. The air in the small, narrow, windowless room smelled faintly of pine-scented cleaner. The aroma clung to the food on the deli meat tray, to the tiny pink vino sausages in their pool of tomato sauce, and to every drop of red wine. Darren took another hard drag of the solemn and then stub, stubbed it to death in the crystal ashtray. He was free now. Every stop on this 66 city's brow was had brought another of those mysterious notes. Notes telling him that this was his last tour ever, that he'd never touch a guitar again. And now the menace of the, the menace was over at last. Here on the very last show of the tour, Darren picked up the ovation and gently stummed a warm C chord. The smooth white strings widening yieldingly easily beneath the tips of his fingers. He smiled at the thought of his fans and how startled they would be to see him with his mellowest instrument instead of the screaming red guitars he played in public. He glanced at the wall clock and realized that he was almost due on stage, where he'd open the show with his beloved trademark leap in the windmill. Downstroke on one of those six strings fire engines. Idly, he picked at the crossed fingertips. Let me turn this down some. Okay. On his left hand. Constant performing on this tour had built up hard layers there. He could squeeze out a lit match between any two fingers and feel no pain, not even a warmth. The glinstering round wound strings of his stage guitars music a deep gave his music a deep, throaty intonation, annotation, but they sure were hell on his hands. However, Darren long ago resolved himself to pay this small price, to practice his art. His music was his life, and his life was his music, and nobody, especially not some demented note-writing nutcase could take that away from him. Darren stood and stretched, and stopped toward the mirror, and adjusted his black leather stage costume, satisfied. He left the room and made his way down the corridor. Ron, Paul, Ed, and Jasmine were ready, dashing out in front of the crowd as soon as he appeared. A roadie with the smooth black leather strap of a Gibson Explorer over his neck and gestured toward the stage where Leo and was already laying down the opening drum beats. Darren took a deep breath, let it out slowly, and began to run. As he reached the stage, he leaped, and while still in midair, he pressed the C chord and delivered a devastating downstroke. But the sound from the amplifiers, not booming out over the ocean of cheering fans, was wrong. Flat, muted, clipped, it lacked his trademark sustain. Something burned and stung on the fingertips of his hand. Then he realized the blood was pouring down the guitar. His fingertips seemed to have melted into the strings. Darren stepped back in shock, then collapsed. Razor wire, he thought. My strings replaced with razor wire. Like Venus sausages in tomato sauce, the fingertips of Darren's right hand lay motionless in the pool of blood on the stage floor. And out in the crowd, thousands were screaming. Dang.